I've seen Win, Who Is Next, Show Me the Money 3, Show Me the Money 4, Show Me the Money 5, Show Me the Money 6, Show Me the Money Season 10, No Mercy, Mix and Match, K-Pop Star Season 4, Unpretty Rap Star Season 2, The Unit, Produce 101 Season 2, Produce 101 China, Idol Producer, Produce X 101, Boys Planet, YG Treasure Box, Street Woman Fighter, Be Ambitious, Build Up Vocal Boy Group Survival Show, Kingdom, Queendom 2, but yeah. So one thing you should know about me, besides the fact that I love dramas, is the fact that I love survival shows. I mean, I've been a K-pop fan since a young age. I mean, you know, the trio, the variety shows, the K-pop, the dramas. So yeah, like I love survival shows. I just think it's such a fun format. And then I think the fact that there's so many contestants on these shows, usually you always have these like, the editing always has these like good guys and villains, and it's just like, I feel like a really great story that's like realistic. Like this is like my favorite like reality TV. And to be honest, dating shows still don't hold a candle to survival shows for me. Yeah, so just like I feel like all these contestants, there's like bound to be one that you really are drawn to, and I think that's the biggest appeal of a survival show. You get 100 boys, and like I mean, one just stands out, you know, because of whatever reason, and it's just great. You love the members and you support them for whatever they'll do, and like that's the entire point of being a fangirl. It's just like be entertained and just have that love and supportive energy go out there in the world. So yeah, that's why today I am just going to give my thoughts on the currently airing survival shows. There's currently 3. Actually there's a 4th one that I do know of, but I'm gonna be talking about the 3 because these 3 are a little bit bigger. So yeah, I just wanted to give my input as someone who's watched a lot of survival shows and hopefully help you decide if there's any you want to watch or any you would like to skip, or if you just want to know what's going on without seeing anything, that works too. Okay, so first up, I am going to be talking about the show that aired first, and that is going to be Project 7. So the funny thing about this show is this is the only one that I have not watched and do not plan to watch. This started on October 18th, and currently there's 7 episodes out at the time that I'm filming this, and there's going to be a total of 12 episodes, each 2 hours long. This is put on by JTBC, and the concept of the show, from what I understand, is that it's mainly like these units that they keep forming. So for example, for the Signal song, they all had to perform the Signal song, and they added up each individual trainee, so like 20 scores, and added that up, and then the highest unit would get to perform on the highest stage, and the center would be from the highest unit. That was like, I guess, one original aspect of the concept. But to be honest, from then on out, when you form teams to do like performances, it's like the same as any other show. So the whole unit aspect is kind of like not really working anymore. Like it's not really like present in there, if I'm being honest. And obviously, since the show is called Project 7, the top 7 are going to debut, so the final group will be 7 members. And so for each survival show, you know, there's always notable trainees, and so I'm just going to talk about the ones that I've somewhat heard of or that I just want to mention, okay? Because this is not all of them. There's definitely more that have some sort of previous exposure that you might have heard of too, but these are the ones that I personally have heard of, so this is the why I'm sharing these. So just some of the notable trainees. So first up is Bae173, and so for me this is notable because Hangyul specifically and Dohyun from X1, who are on Produce X101, are in this group. Actually, for Dohyun, he just left the group earlier this year. But anyways, the other members of the group, specifically 4 of them, Hyunwoo, Minwook, Junseo, and Yongseo, are on the show. And speaking of Produce X101, there's also Kim Si-hoon. He was part of under Brand New Music, and he debuted in the group BEC. For Fantasy Boys, it was also a survival show with a group that formed called Fantasy Boys. There's Lee Han-bin and Kang Min-seo. From Boys Planet, our most recently aired survival show, Ma Jing-shang, Jung Se-yoon, and Chang Yo-jun are in it. Ma Jing-shang is some Chinese trainee that got evil edited, if you remember him, and Chang Yo-jun wasn't really popular in Boys Planet, but he and Kwon-wook were besties, and Kwon-wook is obviously in Boys X Zero Base One. But yeah, so then Asia Super Young, which I actually watched because Ollie from Boys Planet was on Asia Super Young. There's Attila. I do remember his audition performance, but I don't remember him after that, and I kind of stopped watching Asia Super Young because I didn't really enjoy it that much. And there's also the former The Unit contestant, Yoo Hee-do, and he was in BIG. And then there's also contestants from Loud, which was the JYP YG survival show, including Kang Hyun-woo, Kim Jong-min, and Kim Tae-sung. And one funny thing is there is another notable trainee for me, who I will not be name dropping, but basically, yeah, I know one of the guys participating on this show. I met him sometime when I was studying abroad in Korea, and it's just really interesting, like, seeing him on the show. He's not particularly high-ranking trainee, and we actually don't know each other. We only, like, follow each other on Instagram, and so I don't really want to name drop him, and, like, I don't really know him, so I don't want to act like we're besties or anything, but that's just something that I've been keeping my eye out, because I'm just like, oh, like, if he becomes famous and, like, he rises the ranks, and I'm like, oh, I, like, met this guy before he was, like, an idol, which I think is pretty cool. Not that we actually know each other, so I have anything to say about him, but yeah. And so for the mentors, there's really 6 main ones, and that's going to be the MC Lee Soo-hyuk. He's an actor, he was in Doom at Your Service, and he's also in some other things. And then there's the music special director Ryan Hoon, creative special director Lee Hae-in, dance special directors Pada and Rudi, and vocal special director Ha Sung-moon. So these are the 6 main mentors. So for my thoughts, I obviously kind of don't have many because I'm not watching the show. The one reason I decided not to was because the average ages of contestants of Project 7 are really, really young, and I'm starting to get old, and I just don't feel the same about fangirling for younger dudes than I did when I was young, fangirling over older men. Like older boys, like they weren't even men when I was like young. If I were younger, like I would eat, not the boys up, but I would have eaten the show up, and I would have like really, really fangirled. Like nothing can really top Produce 101 season 2 for me because I was really young at the time, and because they were older than me, and like, I mean, obviously I thought they were all hot, but right now I can't really think the younger trainees are hot because they're just babies to me. But I did consider watching it because I saw performances of Love Me or Leave Me and 3D Jungkook on my TikTok For You page, and I was like, oh, you know what? They actually seem like really good. And so it was just like on my mind for a little bit, but I never got around to watching it because I've just been busy with life, to say the least. But yeah, so I never got around to watching it, and then some time passed, and recently all my TikToks are just about how the Project 7 current lineup is not talented at all, and I've just seen a lot of those TikToks of like what the lineup would look like if like they voted based off talent. And it turns out they actually edit all the performances, so that's why I thought they seemed talented. So if there's no talent and they're younger than me, I think there's just no purpose for me to watch the show at this point. And yeah, there was nobody on the show that I was particularly rooting for to like start the show in the first place, so I will not watch it. So yeah, that's that. And next up is Starlight Boys, and this started airing on October 26th. Currently, there's 5 episodes at the time that I'm making this video. There's going to be a total of 10 episodes, and each episode is 2 hours long. It's a Chinese-Korean co-production, so unlike Project 7, which is like mainly Korean trainees, this one has a good chunk of Chinese trainees, like maybe around half. There's also some Thai trainees, and I mean Project 7 also has foreign trainees, but it's just the number's way smaller in comparison to Starlight Boys. This one, the top 9 trainees will debut. It's available to stream on iQIYI in China, and it's airing on SBS in Korea. So for this one, notable trainees, there's also the other half of Bae173 members. So you know how I said one half was on Project 7, the other half is on Starlight Boys, and the member that I care about the most is Hangyeol. So Hangyeol is on this show. He's also joined by Yoojun and Minjae. There's also former Mirae Lee Jun-hyuk. So Mirae basically recently disbanded as well. There's a lot of Produce X101 trainees just on these shows again. Mirae had former Produce X101 X1 member Son Dong-pyo. Son Dong-pyo was the center of Produce X101's Signal song. So again, Fantasy Boys. Also, I haven't watched the survival show, but I guess they're split as well against Project 7 and Starlight Boys. So yeah, on this one is Inchi, Hikari, and Sungmin. And then there's also the X-Form boys. So these are the boys that debuted on Youth With You 3, one of the Chinese survival shows. They formed the group called X-Form. And so there's going to be Tuan Xingxing, who Lisa has previously said she's a fan of, and then fans of Tuan Xingxing like to bring that up. So that's like part of his fandom. Yu Guan-woo was also a member as well, and Sun In-hao, and he's been making rounds around TikTok because he has his iconic line that I will share a little bit later. And one interesting thing that I want to talk about is while I was doing research for this video, I looked up Youth With You 3, and so this one stands out to me because I thought it was interesting that Produce X101 because we keep talking about that because it has so much input on survival shows now. But yeah, Produce X101 had a trainee called Tony, and Tony was maybe like, I don't know, 20th of the 20 top 20 trainees, so he like went to the finals. But Tony ended up going on Youth with You 3 and ended up being in center, which I was like, oh wow, like I didn't think he would be this popular. But yeah, so he ended up in like first place. But the thing is, there's this whole scandal that got the entire show canceled. So I'm just going to talk about that real quick. It's my little side tangent, so you can keep watching if you want to just keep moving on. But basically, Tony is like a silver spoon. He grew up super, super rich, and his parents owned a bunch of properties. And basically, the scandal came out that one of the properties that his parents owned, which was a karaoke, got shut down for doing some like shady stuff. So one of the things is like they were offering prostitution services in addition to, I think, selling drugs is what it was. Sorry, I don't want to spread that much misinformation, but that's like the gist of it. So basically, some of the things that they like posted were the fact that the karaoke, one of the hiring posters was looking for mommy assistants, and there were also promotions where hostesses could offer extra overnight work in addition to a quick meal service. Another ad was looking for beautiful girls over 158 centimeters, adding that well-known gorgeous girls could receive more money. It was eventually shut down because of a dealing that had to do with a fact that a man had purchased prohibited items from one of the escort girls, some of the escort girls. And to me, like, the scandal was crazy, right? But the craziest part is they canceled the entire show one episode before the final.
Okay, just popping in real quick to film this little insert. I was editing the video and then I realized I didn't mention the fact that the show canceled because the government got involved, because basically Youth with You 3 had this voting system where there were QR codes inside some milk, and basically people would hire like people to pour out the milk and scan the QR codes, which is like why this is like an image of like elderly men or whatever. But yeah, because they just kind of went on an app, was like, hey, can you do this job for me? And like, this is the job. And so yeah, the government got involved because of how wasteful it was. Like, so much milk was being poured down. That, in addition to one more scandal of Tony that I forgot to mention, is the fact that he had dual citizenship, I guess, and that's illegal because in China you're not allowed more than one citizenship. So yeah, so there are these just two facts that I just forgot to mention. But yeah, back to the video.
Yeah, so basically they put a hold on the entire show. Like, Tony obviously left, which is also kind of crazy given the fact that he was number one and the number one person quit. After that, they put the show on hold and eventually ended up just canceling the show completely. Didn't film the final, which is interesting because X-Form, the group that formed, is based off of rankings in the previous episode and not the current rankings. And so if you go back and look, so like, I don't even know, maybe there were 10 episodes, right? So you go back to the 9th episode and they're following those rankings for the boys that get to debut. So in a way, the boys truly didn't make it, because obviously rankings can change and fluctuate. Obviously some of them were going to make it, but it's just so wild to me. They, in a way, just like made up this group because they just like had to put a group together. Like, you spent this much time filming a show and you cancel it, and what about the boys that should have debuted or whatever? So yeah, so Duan Xingxing, Yu Guanwu, Sun Yinghao were chosen based off their previous rankings, and like, yeah, they had a lineup, and so I guess they just made the center dude the guy that was in second place, right? And what's interesting is I think they ended up skipping the guy in maybe like 9th and 10th and took the next two. And since I'm not following the show really closely, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe 9th and 10th decided they didn't want to participate in the show anymore or had other plans. Like, I don't really know the details, but I just think the wildest part is the fact that the show got canceled. Literally, they had one more episode to go and it just completely canceled. Wild. Okay, so back to the main point. We're still talking about notable trainees on Starlight Boys. The last ones I want to mention are the Boys Planet Ida and Kongbi. You know, Boys Planet. And so for the mentors, which they call guiders, it's Lee Seung-gi, and he is a singer, actor, variety star. He was the mentor on Produce 48. He went from Nation's Son-in-Law to Everyone Hates Him. And I guess I could talk about this real quick. So basically, Lee Seung-gi had like, he just had like the best image. He was super polite, like super good at what he does. And then he went and got married. Basically, his wife is Lee Da-in. She is an actress and she is also a silver spoon. She's super, super rich, and basically the issue lies in the fact that her parents scammed a bunch of people, and yeah, they scammed a bunch of poor people who ended up ending their lives due to the scam and like losing all that money. So Lee Da-in's father is in jail, and there was like from what I hear, there was no apology from the family, even though they ruined like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people's life. Like it was a really, really big scam, and that's kind of like the money that they live off of. So yeah, she's like part of that. And ultimately, it's something that her parents did do, but Lee Seung-gi has been obviously like protective of the family, and so yeah, like they did that terrible stuff. So she has a really bad reputation as well, and his reputation is now down the drains because of that. And one more addition is, I guess I'm gonna finally mention it, but one of the scandals in the show is the fact that in their first round, they made everyone do the signal song until they dropped. Yeah, they just kept playing the signal song over and over, and there's really like no purpose to this, and like a lot of people got really upset because they were clearly overworking the trainees. Like even if you were like the 10th best dancer out of what, like 70 boys, you still had to dance that song 10 times. And the signal song is long. The signal song is maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So that's like 30 to 50 minutes dancing if you're the 10th best dancer out of 70 dudes. So imagine what it's like if you're like the 50th best dancer, you know? And they did it basically like one by one. So even the second best dancer has to dance it twice, even if he did it best the first time, which is also weird because they were evaluating all of them at the same time live. So it's like literally who their eye catches. So like literally two dudes could be like doing it perfect, and whoever your eye catches is really gonna be the one that gets to be chosen to like stop dancing, and that like you pass the round. Basically, so what happened is where Sun In Hao becomes a meme, goes viral, is he just suddenly like he's watching the stuff, he's already passed, he's watching, he's just like, these kids do not look okay. So he's like, he calls time, he's like, stop. And then one thing he says is, we're people, we're not machines. And Seung-gi has the audacity to be like, didn't you come here to become an idol? So yeah, he basically just shuts Sung In Hao down, saying that like idols have to perform like rigorously and they have to do stuff like this, and this is just like a prerequisite to become an idol, and if you can't handle this, you can't be an idol, kind of thing. So yeah, he got a lot of hate for that. I would say some of that hate has to come from the fact that people just don't like Lee Seung-gi, so like anything he does is like kind of prone to becoming hate. The other guiders are Taesung. He's a Big Bang member. If you don't know Big Bang, then watch the Mama performances to know what they're about. Like, they're your idol's idol. So there's Choi Young-jun. He's a dance member on a lot of shows, like every season of Produce, and most notably Boys Planet recently. There's Han Hae. He's a rapper and variety personality. There's Kwon Eun-bi. She's a former Produce 48 contestant and former IZ*ONE member, which is the group that formed. There's Hui, who is a Pentagon member and who was a former Boys Planet trainee. He didn't make the final group, and now he's a judge. And then there's Yoon, a member of Stacy. And lastly is Eric. He is very hot. He is the Boys member. That rounds up all the mentors on Starlight Boys. And so for my thoughts so far, I really only have negative things to say about it. So I don't even know where to start. So let me just start off first with the production. Like, it is bad. Like, the editing is bad because you are not forming any connections with the trainees. Like, we hate Mnet. Mnet does so much evil editing, and they're just so cruel to trainees. But the thing is, you can't deny they make an entertaining show. This show is so boring. Like, I literally already like Hangul, but like none of my affection for him is growing. Like, they're really not good at creating like a storyline and like making you like and support characters. So yeah, like the editing is not going well. Like, the trainees, honestly, I think it's the editing that's what makes it. You can blame the trainees and say the trainees aren't that talented, aren't that interesting, and that's why they can't edit it any better. But to be honest, I feel like Mnet can make something out of nothing. So yeah, I just think the editing isn't that great. And then on to the production team some more. Just the ideation of the entire show is bad. It really feels like knockoff Boys Planet, which is fine if you can execute it to what Boys Planet was, but it doesn't feel that way. So like it's just in the details. Like, some of them are just so stupid. Like, first off, when they did the evaluation thing, they were put into 0, 1, 2, and All Stars, right? But the thing is, they had this weird thing where if you were an all-star, so basically they had 9 all-stars, and if there was a 10th person that they wanted to be an all-star, he had to go and like battle it out with someone already sitting in one of the 9 spots. And then the trainees were the ones that voted on popularity.
MTC All-Star.
지금부터 밀어내기가 시작됩니다.
And so some of the 2-stars basically had all-star talent, but were just 2-stars, just because they made up this random thing. When you were doing evaluation based off skill, and then all of a sudden popularity came into play, like, yeah, popularity comes into play, and that's what they're gonna vote the final group to be on, but like, why were you doing that during a skill evaluation? I didn't understand the purpose. And then obviously the signal dance until you drop, like, it just didn't make sense as a mission at all. Like, I don't think any of us wanted to see it. Like, nobody cared. Nobody wanted to see them dance until they drop. Like, nobody was interested in that, to see like, oh, I wonder who's really got that mental fortitude to really get through it all. Like, nobody cares. And yeah, like, it also didn't make sense logically the way they handled it, because they were dancing live, and it's not like they chose the best out of like all of them dancing the first time. It's literally who they visually saw in the moment dancing the best. Like, if their attention was on one side and they didn't notice the other guy could have done it perfect and they wouldn't have noticed, because they're watching them all dance in real time. Like, it just, I think they wanted to make an impact, but they made an impact in a really negative way. So it was kind of stupid. This kind of did get me to watch the show, because I saw Sun In-hao make the whole statement, like, we're people, we're not machines. I really started supporting Sun In-hao after that. And then so lastly, I guess, from what has happened so far, there was the K-pop generation battle. And this concept just made no sense. Like, they just chose the most random songs. Like, they chose Baby Monster Sheesh, Blackpink How You Like That, Rise Boom Boom Bass, 2PM Again and Again, Super Junior Sorry Sorry, BTS Butter, AT's Gorilla, Stray Kids Chick Chick Boom. Like, what would, like, okay, so the groups, whatever, it's fine. Like, they're trying to choose different generations. Like, I think there should have been a purpose for why they were choosing generations. Like, if you're competing, like, a really popular song from the 1990s in comparison to, like, a really trendy song, like, that could have been interesting to see, like, how that would differ, because obviously a recent song has more popularity now, and like, is a song going to get votes because of that, or is it going to be getting votes because it was performed well, kind of situation? Like, I can understand that, but like, even with the groups they chose, the groups themselves were random. Like, what's Baby Monster Sheesh doing in here, especially for like guys? Like, what? And some of these groups just, I think, aren't the greatest to cover. Like, 2 that stand out to me are ATEEZ and Stray Kids. I just think it's really hard to pull off those songs. ATEEZ has like pretty unique, really strong energy, and I guess one thing is the talent just isn't there on this show. Nobody has enough talent to be pulling these things off. Like, if the trainees on average had higher talent and could pull them off, like, sure, you could do it, but they should have taken that into consideration, because the performances are all lackluster, if not bad. But yeah, so like I said, the talent just feels like it's not there. I think nobody is main vocal material. Like, right now, I think Gwanwoo, who actually I like, is being pushed to be main vocal material, and in my opinion, he's like a sub vocal 1 at best. So if he's main vocal, and he's my favorite, by the way, it's just the lineup, the talent, I just don't see it. I don't feel it. And so we have our last airing survival show, Universe League, and this started airing November 22nd, so there's only 1 episode at the time that I'm filming this. It is the 2nd season to Universe Ticket, which debuted the girl group Unis. They're not very popular, so. There's going to be a total of 10 episodes, and it's currently airing on SBS. This concept is a little bit different, as it has this manager aspect. It's a little like K-pop Star, where basically in the first round they had like trainees perform in groups, and then they selected their first pick for the draft, because they got this like sports concept going on. So yeah, this is like the group performed, and then each manager team chooses one, and then they're like going to produce a group kind of situation. So it's interesting, because you have like the mentors are like active participants in the show as well, because they're like managing the team, and like if that team wins, because like there's 3 teams and it's going to be one of those teams that debuts, and so the idea of the draft is that they're going to switch in and out trainees to like get the final group, and the final group will be like one of the 3 that the idols mentors like managed, so like they'll win as well. Not that I really know what the prize is for winning, maybe bragging rights for the judges. But yeah, So some notable trainees on this, once again, Boys Planet, because Boys Planet is everywhere. But Woongi and Zhuang Shuaibo actually were on the same team in Feel Special during Boys Planet, so that's kind of interesting. Woongi was also on World Class, which is interesting because he debuted in the group TO1, who his former groupmate Jang Kyung-ho is also participating. So they were in the same group on the same survival show. And the thing is, they aren't friends. They don't know each other, which is really weird in my opinion. There's also one that shocked me. I didn't know until I watched it, but there's the unit Kijung, and I watched the unit, and he was in the final lineup of the boy group UNB that formed. There's also JL, and he's a notable trainee because he's a former member of the Filipino group Plus, PLUS. And then lastly, the one that I recognize is Produce X101, because those boys are still going on survival shows, Stephen Kim. So for mentors on this one, we have, so as I said, they're split up into 3 managers. So for the first managing team is Team Beat, and this features Yu Yum from GOT7 and L Captain, and he's a producer, so they're one team. The next team is Team Rhythm, which features the Wave V boys, so Ten, Yang Yang, and Team Groove is B2B's Lee Chang-seob and just him. And for my thoughts so far, I think the format has a lot of potential. I've seen a lot of survival shows, and it's interesting that they're doing this concept, which feels a lot like Show Me the Money. And they're doing this concept with idols, so that's interesting to me. And I feel like as long as they gave more famous mentors, then the show might be more successful. Because if I'm being honest, B2B, like, super famous in Korea, but not very famous internationally. And yeah, Wavy also not super big internationally, I would say either. Like, yeah, they're popular, definitely. I'm not gonna deny that. They're definitely popular, but to really feel like go further, you need like some more nationally, which is also why I think this show isn't going to perform that well internationally, and their group isn't going to perform that well. I mean, if you look at Unis, like Unis isn't doing that well. I guess they still have time, but I just wouldn't have super high expectations from the group that will form and the show in general. I feel like it needs a competition sense, not just amongst the idols, but amongst the managers. And I feel like there should be some sort of prize for winning for the mentors as well. And so yeah. And then the editing on this one is actually the best. Not that I've seen Project 7, but it's very standard. I think it's pretty decent at giving those storylines. I think there are trainees that I'm like looking to support and root for, and it could be that the trainees just have more talent in this, or they're making us believe that there's more talent. I think that one's a little something that we have to see with time as time passes, because so far they've done one performance, so it's hard to tell if they're talented or not. But yeah, like, that's just my thoughts. Like, the trainees so far are pretty decent. The concept is decent. The performances are pretty decent. So overall, like, yeah, I think the show is pretty decent.
Okay, and so lastly, this is not a currently airing survival show, but it is one to look out for. I will definitely make a separate dedicated video to it once it is actually airing, because it'll probably be a hit and make waves, because it's an Mnet show, and Mnet is really good at making survival shows. But yeah, so currently there is Boys 2 Planet. They're currently taking applicants for their new survival show until January 26th, 2025, and it's any boy born before January 1st, 2012, meaning a boy above 13 can apply. And I really wish they would raise the number to 18 or 16 just so that I don't watch a show full of babies. And honestly, they shouldn't, like, honestly, these children shouldn't be on survival shows, because survival shows are notoriously really hard mentally and physically, and I don't think you should be putting a very young teenager through that. But anyways, I assume the show is going to be taking place of spring 2025, because that's around the time that Boys Planet aired. 2024? 2023? Yeah, Boys Planet aired in 2023. And basically, this concept is actually quite comical, because they're doing 2 shows simultaneously with a multiverse concept, and basically there's just a Chinese version and Korean version of the show, and I've just seen the memes where they're just like, Zhang Hao really like scared the production team so much with the fact that a Chinese boy can finish in first place that they decide to segregate them and make 2 separate shows so that they won't get a Chinese trainee in center. I will probably be watching both, because I watch most Mnet boy survival shows, if not every single one that comes out, basically, as long as the trainees aren't too young. Like, please. it's going to be on by Mnet, so I feel like you can expect the group to do well and for the show to be entertaining, because Mnet sucks, but they are good at putting on a good, funny show. And so, yes, that is all for the video today. For recommendation, I would definitely recommend you check out Boys to Planet out of all of the shows. Yeah. I would also watch both because that's that. But for the ones currently airing, I would probably recommend Universe League first because it's very standard. The concept is pretty original, and I think that's something to appreciate if you've watched a lot of survival shows. I would recommend Project 7 next. Actually, if you were younger, I just think the general editing and quality of the show might be higher than Starlight Boys. Starlight Boys feels like a mess. It feels like they're on a budget, and it feels like something I could film and make by myself. Like it's not that great quality-wise for some reason. So if talent is a big red flag, deal breaker. If talent is a deal breaker for you, then I wouldn't watch either show because there's no talent in Project 7, supposedly, because I'm not watching it and there's not really much talent in Starlight Boys. So yeah, I would just skip both at that point. Starlight Boys does have trainees that I support, so I will continue to watch it, I assume, unless I drop it. And I usually don't drop boy group survival shows, but you know, there's a first for everything. I mean, I did drop Asia Super Young, so what am I saying? But yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be hitting December soon, meaning I'm gonna be doing my drama wrap-ups. And so yeah, that should be coming out soon. And I should just be posting a little bit more about my life, a little bit more dramas, survival show stuff, because I'm trying to really get back into it, you know? Especially with the new year coming up, really wanna start the year off strong, and hopefully in December there'll be lots of content coming, and hopefully you stick around for it. But that is all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.